Boris Johnson is set to be the first foreign leader to address the Ukrainian parliament later today.
Yes, it's thought that the Prime Minister will liken Ukraine's resistance and spirit in the face of invasion to the threats faced by Britain in the Second World War and will describe the ongoing conflict as Ukraine's finest hour. He's also expected to detail £300 million in extra military support. Well, it's not just the PM helping support Ukraine. Of course, we know lots of people at home and abroad have been helping people in Ukraine, and a former British MP is one of them. He's helped save 7,500 women and children from Ukraine.
Well, Brooks Newmark, former Conservative MP for Braintree in Essex, travelled to the war-torn country to help evacuate women and children from some of the conflict's most dangerous areas, and he had extraordinary success in doing so, and indeed his efforts were even more extraordinary. They led to worldwide praise, and here we go, ladies and gents, I'm absolutely delighted to say that Brooks, a national hero himself, joins us right now in the studio. There we go. I'm used to seeing you just on that screen over there, Brooks, talking to me from places like Kharkiv or wherever, constantly looking in the sky behind you just in case there's a shell coming your way. So I must say it's an absolute relief to have you in the studio, and congratulations and thank you so much. But just tell us about some of your experiences, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a moving experience, and it's been quite a journey for me as well, because you want to do something. And I sort of felt I had to physically do something rather than write a cheque. And so my journey really began at the Polish border to try and move refugees away from the border to elsewhere in Europe. But then I realised where the real problem was in Ukraine, because that's where the women and children were. And so I really shifted across from Lviv to Kyiv to Zaporizhia and to Vinnytsia, further east to now Dnipro and Kharkiv, because that's where the war is taking place. And over that time, I've heard just horrendous stories, but I think some of the most moving experiences for me was in Bucha, just outside Kyiv, where I saw this mass grave. I think it's the largest mass grave with, 412 people in it.
Wow.
That was moving. The stories were moving.
Can I say about that story? Because we get a lot of, well, we don't necessarily get a lot, but online there's a lot of people who are saying, look, this is being exaggerated.
Propaganda,
Exactly. You saw, with your own eyes, a mass grave.
Yes, I mean, not only a mass grave, it's the witness statement. So, the distraught women who I met who had either been subject to rape, had been witnesses to rape. There was one woman I met 2 hours south of Kharkiv near Izium, which is where the war is taking place, where she had been watching her daughter on live online. Her daughter was getting bombed. She was frightened. And while she was on video chat, her daughter was blown up.
Wow.
Flipping.
And that trauma is just... And hearing these witness statements. So really, Ukraine is one large war crime scene. And what Putin is creating in Ukraine today are war crimes, and I certainly hope he's held to account.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen a lot of Boris bashing, I suppose you could say, in the media over the last few weeks, maybe rightly, maybe wrongly, over Partygate and other things. But would you agree with me that Boris has shown himself to be quite the leader when it comes to Ukraine? We're, of course, going to him later. He's going to be the first world leader to actually address the Ukrainian parliament. He's releasing details about a further package of measures for support. And we, of course, saw him walking down those streets, I think it was in Kyiv, and looking, extremely statesmanlike. Do you think this is going to save Boris a little bit? The fact that when we look at him here, he does look like a leader. Yeah,
I mean, I've not been that sort of tied into what's going on domestically here, but I certainly can say that when I was in Ukraine, wherever I was, just simply using the word Boris Johnson was like saying open sesame. People were happy, they smiled, they gave me the thumbs up. So, I mean, he is, other than Zelensky, he is a national hero, in Ukraine, in less than 8 weeks, which says something about the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Boris, supposedly anyway, is apparently going to be announcing some further spending, roughly around 300 million quid's worth. We'll have to wait and see on the exact details of all of that, of course. How disappointed are you, or otherwise, I don't know, about some of the efforts of our European friends, the European Union? I bang on about this, but it's baffling for me, this.
It is. The first few weeks of the war, when the Germans said, we're going to support Ukraine, we're going to send them pillows and helmets.
5,000 helmets. Cheers, lads.
I mean, great. even today, the Germans have spent 40 billion on oil and gas supporting Putin's war effort and have now sent just over 1 billion. That's a 40-to-1 ratio supporting the Russians over the Ukrainians. But the Dutch are no better. The Dutch, I think, have spent something like 26 billion on oil and gas and have spent less than 1 billion supporting the Ukrainians.
Are they funding the war? Are they funding Putin?
They're effectively, this is what's going on. Unless we actually, and it's a difficult choice, I understand it for many of our European friends, to cut off the energy supplies. But they have to get alternatives, whether from the Middle East, from the US. Unless we choke off the cash supply to Putin, we, meaning the West, are funding his war machine.
And how do we do that more effectively then? Because, of course, this war is still ongoing. I think we're on day 69 or something like that. If he still thinks he can win, and whether he's delusional or not, that's another question. He still thinks he can win, and he's still determined to win. So how can the West, particularly those EU nations who are lagging behind, how can they effectively put a stop to this?
Well, I think in the long run we are going to win. I think the difference is that, you know, certainly, and I met many of the Ukrainian volunteers, the military. They are motivated, highly motivated, to save their nation. The Russian recruits are not motivated. They hate being there. They weren't even told they were going into Ukraine. And this is the problem. It's a difference in motivation. But more importantly, we are now finally getting the Ukrainians the weapons that they need to fight this war.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. We are, from what I can tell anyway, trying to give them these weapons so that it can prevent, as far as possible, humanitarian crises. There is obviously a one anyway, but, you know, war crimes, if they can defend themselves, for example, whereas the EU and EU nations, as far as I can see, would be content, in their actions anyway, for Russia to take Ukraine and then try and mop up the mess afterwards. But just want to focus a bit on Russia and on Putin. You're a man of the world, and you will know maybe more than I do about this. So the report suggests that Putin now has taken total control of his own military, as it were. He's obviously not relying on his generals anymore. Quite a few of them are dead. Is this worse for us? Because if this man is deranged, totally deranged, then actually now there can be also no barrier between, I suppose, well, him and total annihilation.
Well, let me say, so Putin is an intelligence guy. So as an intelligence guy, he has no tactical experience on the field of action. He needs his military to actually fight the war on the ground. If you try and second-guess your military on the ground, you're going to make several mistakes. People are so frightened of him, even his military, that they couldn't tell him the truth, that their supply chain and so on wasn't able to support their military coming down from Belarus into Kyiv, which is why the Ukrainians fought back and pushed them right back out there. I think at the moment they're trying to take Kharkiv. I don't think they're going to really take Kharkiv, because, as I said, I think the Ukrainians now are being better supplied, and the Russians, though, have not got the spare parts. And without the spare parts, they then can't build more missiles and so on. So they're actually going to run out of ammunition over time. So for the Russians, it's a race against time.
Yes. And something else that is very much a race against time is getting people out who need to get out, isn't it? It's a desperate situation there. And, of course, you've been on the ground doing some amazing work. I just wondered what you think of how the UK has responded to that. Priti Patel's been taken to court, the Home Office, because, you know, this visa scheme that we set up, it's not working as it was promised. Are we doing enough? I mean, I'm just sort of thinking about the migrant crisis we have as well, which is in the newspapers. £5 million a day, I think Boris Johnson said we're spending on hotels. I'd much rather be, spending that on Ukrainian refugees. Are we doing enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I've got a mother and daughter who are staying with me now. The frustration was the daughter got her visa in 4 days, but the mother took 3.5 weeks to get her visa. A way to simplify the system, as I believe, and I've tried to recommend this, is to say families should apply together. So you don't get families split up. Yeah. And I think that would be one way of doing it. But I think it's making sure there's a change in attitude within the Home Office to try and streamline and make things go faster. You know, if you're going to Poland or Romania or even Germany, there aren't the blocks that there are in the UK. But I think broadly, I just want to congratulate people overall. There are, I think over 250,000 people have volunteered their homes to Ukrainian refugees, and that should be celebrated. What the Home Office needs to do now is to sort of help make that happen.
Yes, indeed. And look, I would just like to say thank you very much for everything that you've been doing. You are the best of British in that sense, really, going out there, a tremendous ambassador for us and a tremendous humanitarian as well. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming into the studio. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
That's Brooks Newmark there. Of course, that we can all agree, a national treasure.